Do you ever have so many questions and no one to ask, so they're just wasting away on Google searches you'll forget about in an hour or so?
We had that same problem, and that's why we created the RD2BE podcast, a resource for dietetic and nutrition students looking for answers that their peers don't have.
We are students Macy and Emily and registered dietitian Carl Barnes. We engage in conversations and learn from RDs.
Join us weekly as we gain insight into the unique journeys of registered dietitians all over the country.
Welcome back to another week of the RD2BE podcast. I'm your registered dietitian host, Carl Barnes. This is where each week we sit with a different registered dietitian to really demonstrate the diversity of opportunities in the profession. As a lot of you know, this profession naturally attracts foodies and people who love food. But one of the coolest things that I like, and obviously with my food service background, I think is very intriguing, is the people who get into this profession who kind of maintain different professions and different interests. And the two that go perfectly hand in hand are culinary skills and being a dietitian. So today we're sitting with Chef Jess and balancing both of those, registered dietitian and chef. So without further ado, I'll let you introduce yourself a little more. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Jessica Swift, also known as Chef Jess. I am the owner of Sauce Foods that was previously Chef Jess. I am a registered dietitian as well as a professionally trained chef. And thank you for having me here. I'm really happy to be here.
As always, I'm Emily, your RD2BE from University of Maryland College Park. So I'll just start with a brief, quick little thing. I'm very excited to interview you. I was looking through, chefs to interview because we haven't had one on the podcast. I'm pretty sure you're our first chef. And I'm just really intrigued to, hear about not only the food service side, because when I think of that, I think of like inspectors and food safety, but someone who, is providing food for people. And that's really exciting for me. So
yeah, I think I really enjoy the creative side of things.
Yeah, definitely. So what was your Howard University Master's of Science dietetic internship experience?
So for me, it was perfect. I had never been to a historically Black college, and I think for me, that's one of the things that drew me to Howard. Also, because they had the coordinated program where I could actually get my master's degree as well as do my dietetic rotation at the same time. I am someone who went straight through school, never took a summer off. So I was ready to get through my program. So that offered me the flexibility that I wanted and that I needed, because I did not want to go through like a burnout or anything. But so I really enjoyed it. And for anyone who is looking for that combined experience where you are working towards your master's degree as well as doing your rounds at the same time, I will tell you the schedule is crazy. I was doing, working from sun up to sundown, but I'm really glad that I did it like that.
So since you are a business owner, what made you want to get a Master's of Science opposed to an MBA?
Because I felt like, and I guess we'll talk a little bit about this when we go through my backstory, but I'm really into physiology and like how things work in the body. So for me, I really wanted to be able to thoroughly explain, the process of eating a carrot and working all the way down to excreting it. So, I wanted to know for myself, and I think it really helped me. And my sister, who I'll talk about a little bit, she's my business partner. Her background is in business. So I wanted to make sure that if we were going to do this business, we were strong on all fronts.
Great. It's really interesting that your sister's a part of it. It's like a little family, not little, but it's a family business you guys have going on. That's awesome.
No, it is. My brother is actually does our finances. So, it is a total like family business. It has its good sides, but I will tell you, working with siblings, let's just say good and bad sides.
Of course, but I know that holidays at the Swifts have to have good food. That's all I'm
Oh, yes,
sure of
yes.
that.
No, yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Food on point, definitely.
Of course. So how did you get into cooking and where did that passion stem from?
Okay, so I was like the baby in a diaper who was pushing like the stool up to the counter so I can like mix things up with my mom. She used to let me play in like cocoa powder and mustard and all of these different things and mix them up and try to, pretend like she was eating it. But then I actually got good quite quickly. So then I started making like pancakes and stuff. And for my sister, who happens to be like 7 years older than me, like I was the one who would cook for her. So food is just like a really important part of my childhood growing up, learning cooking next to my mom, learning things from my grandmother. So I knew I wanted to be a chef. I think where my turn from just culinary to culinary nutrition kicked in is once I was in culinary school, one of my professors was a chef RD, Dr. Mary Etta Marachin, love her to death. She actually turned me on to like the whole like nutrition side of and science side of, culinary. Like it was amazing. Also at that time, my father was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And they really were pushing like insulin and all these other kind of medications. And I was like, no, we can do this with food and exercise. And I really wanted to do it the natural way, more of a holistic approach. And I learned everything I could. And because of that, I was able to help my father. He's my patient zero, as I like to call him. And he was like 320 pounds. He's now 180. He's a marathoner, and his blood sugar is under control. And it's all through diet and exercise.
Oh, I think
I could do that with him. I could do that with other people.
You cut out for a little bit. Would you mind just saying that last part again?
Okay. About my dad, how he was like 320 and now he's 180. He's also a marathoner, and we did it all through diet and exercise. And what I was saying is if I could do that with him, I knew I could do it with others. So that was kind of like, showing me the power of nutrition in culinary and what it could do.
Wow. Yeah, that's really remarkable to hear, especially like a 140-pound weight loss. That's awesome. Both for
Yeah,
you,
like I always say, like, Dad, you're half the man you used to be. Like, it's so funny. Like it's a joke that we say in the house. Yeah.
Of course. So going into your business, would you mind explaining what Chef Jess was and then what Sauce Food is?
Okay, so starting out, after I went through my master's program, I started doing like in-home consults. And at first I was just like, oh, I'm a dietitian. I'm going to come in. We're just going to do these in-home consults. We were doing like cabinet cleanups and things like that. And I'm like, well, hold on, Jess, like you are a chef. Like not only can you, show these people how to cook, but like you can actually make this food and leave it in their fridge. Because I wanted it's hard to know, what your patients are eating when you're not around. So it was more for me to be able to understand, throughout the week what my clients were eating. So I literally started making food and putting it in the fridge, and they would eat it, and I would come out like twice a week and make like batches of food. So I knew, and I was having really good success with my clients because I was in charge of their nutrition as well as their consumption. And then I would, talk to the trainers and have them do their exercising as well. So it was really good. So then my clients started referring me to like their neighbors, like, oh, my neighbor has cholesterol problems, or my other neighbor has celiac, my other neighbor has diabetes. So I literally was going like to a neighborhood, and this is just me like planning, prepping, cooking, shopping, because one of the other things that I realized when my dad was going through his diabetic journey is that he wasn't able to eat the same things that we were eating. So I really, really paid attention to that. And I wanted to make sure that even though this person in the family has diabetes, even though this person has celiac, whatever you might have, you can still eat a meal together as a family if that's what you want to do. So that was kind of like also in the back of my mind. So when I'm creating and planning, I'm not only creating for like dad or, you know, mom or grandpa, I'm creating for the whole family. And this is a meal that everyone can enjoy. And it doesn't have to taste, you know, low sugar. It doesn't have to taste, you know, gluten-free. It doesn't have to taste, you know, low sodium. So there was a lot of moving parts that I was kind of putting together. And from that, my sister saw me and how I was working so hard and was like, Jess, like, you cannot keep doing this. So she is the business side of everything, and she is currently the our COO. She runs like the operations. She knows how to scale things. So she took my idea and made it into an actual business. We got a commercial kitchen, and now we're on to our own brick and mortar after 2 shared commercial kitchens. And just watching how, you know, she worked that and was able to scale it was amazing. So that is kind of how the business was born.
Great. That's awesome, especially because like your sister was able to help you out, and then eventually your brother was able to help you out with the financial part to it, to be like your, I guess.
Yeah, he does. He actually, my brother lives in Tokyo, and it's so funny. He does all of our finances, and when he doesn't do something that, you know, that we need him to do, I'm like, oh, I'm telling dad, or, you know, you have to do it. So it's just so funny to see like how, you know, that sibling dynamic works when we're all adults and like trying to run a business.
Yeah, I like the whole, you know, I'm telling dad stuff.
Yeah, it's funny.
My siblings and I do the same thing. So as a business owner, what's a typical day for you?
So because I'm not, you know, the person cooking all the meals anymore, I kind of have a job of creating different partnerships, making sure our purveyors and our local producers. So we try to do as much local and organic produce as we can get our hands on. And as you know, farms and seasons are changing, and we try to keep up with a seasonal menu. Our menu is always changing. We have different items on there. So just trying to make sure that our menu is fresh and keeping up with, you know, new creative ideas. So that's kind of what I have to handle, as well as having the management report to me about staff. Also, I do media. So even now I'm doing the podcast with you all, doing other media relations as the face of the company. That's pretty much what takes up my day, just making sure things are straight. And then my sister is the operation side of it. But in regards to like research and development, like bringing in new products to kind of get those things on the menu so that we can always make sure that our clients continue to have, you know, a variety in our meals.
Great. So when you when you get food and stuff, do you do it from local farms? Like, how do you get your produce?
Yeah, so we do all. So especially now with the warmer weather, like there's a lot more variety to offer. We try to do local. So like we try to do farms that are like in Maryland. We do a lot of business with Maryland, Pennsylvania, some Virginia. So we really try to keep local. And then we also do like some microgreens and stuff like straight out of DC. So we really try to stay local. And then whatever else we can't get, then we would use like a purveyor. But we really want, you know, our food to represent like the community.
That's great. So I noticed that you also did nutrition education. So what do you provide during that education component, and what is like your target group?
Okay, so for the wellness side, and that was also, so I know we touched a little bit on how sauce is the meals portion of the business. Another reason for the name change was to make sure that that was able to be separate. So Chef Jess is our parent company. And Chef Jess focuses on wellness. So we do corporate wellness, and we see all types of clients. I partner with another dietitian, and me and her pretty much take on the load. Sometimes we have nutrition interns and things that help us put together different educational packets, but we do a lot of corporate wellness, a lot of demos. Since the pandemic, it's been more virtual demos and virtual wellness seminars and things like that. And then we also have our own clientele. And based on kind of, for me, I do a lot of sports nutrition and things like that. And for her, she does more so like PCOS and things like that. So once we get a client, an intake, we will kind of decide, like, based on what that client's needs are, who would see that patient.
Great. So during like the initial you and I talking, you mentioned that you led an R&D innovation. What does that mean? Or
So just research and development. So basically, how I was talking about procuring like different items, ingredients, kind of keeping up with trends, food trends, to make sure that our meal service stays, relevant, if not, better. So with our meal delivery, we only have fresh food. Nothing is ever frozen. We deliver up to 4 times per week. We have clients who get all four times, but the majority of our clients get a couple of days a week, and we never send more than 4 days worth of food at a time. So, and our clients can go on the website and order, and we deliver throughout DC, Maryland, Virginia. So making sure that we are doing that research, making sure that our food is on trend and, within nutrition parameters, depending on what that person is eating for. That's a really big part of kind of what I do, and just making sure that not only is our food, what the person needs, but that it's like absolutely delicious. And we make our own spice blends, so you don't have to worry about extra salty food or anything like that. Like we do all of that. And because of, I know you asked me earlier about doing that background in science instead of business, that really helps me kind of learn different tricks to kind of like play with the palate, like offering citrus instead of, salt and things like that. And really kind of, going through that process in the body and why that is. And that's kind of, where I started coming up with our different sauces, hence the name sauce, spice blends and things like that we use in all of our food.
great. Well, yeah, I didn't really think of, the different foods and textures and stuff that you can incorporate to, satisfy different like cravings and stuff. So it's
Yeah, it's
interesting.
so fascinating.
So you also mentioned build B2B relationships. What is that?
So B2B is like business to business.
Oh,
So we'll do like large drops, different physicians' offices, gyms, corporate buildings. So that's kind of like where I come in. We also have a person who goes out and will do like sales in that area, but like just making sure that, we come to an agreement. Say a place, wants a delivery every Wednesday, just like kind of making sure that we keep our sites and keep the food, making sure that it's the right food and things like that. So I kind of have to oversee it on a higher level. And then we have like management and people who actually like pack the food, make the food, deliver the food, drivers and things like that.
so how many people work within your company?
So right now, full time, we have about 14 people. And then we also have our part-time people, like some of our drivers are part-time. We have full-time as well. When we do events so before the pandemic, we did lots of catering and we had lots of government contracts and things like that. So we would need people like servers and people to go out and cater setups to set up our caters and things like that.
Great. So what hardships have you faced as a business owner and or as a chef?
Pandemic. I would say that's basic, like after 2020, any other hardships that I might even have considered being hardships don't even matter. I think both professionally, and personally, this was a very difficult year for me. Unfortunately, my mother was lost to COVID. So that was like really, really hard. And then with us getting a new brick and mortar and choosing to, we had it prior to the pandemic and just finishing things up and moving to a new space. Just the whole making that change, trying to get contractors out to, do what they're supposed to do, making sure we're social distancing. That was just a really tough adjustment. And also, at the beginning, basically going from having a lot of government contracts, right? We would do lunches for government buildings and agencies every day. So going from that to having absolutely no government contracts overnight, and having to reinvent ourselves was really difficult too. But I think that we did a program, Feed DC. We basically reached out to our corporate clients and we matched meals and we donated it into, those food deserts in DC and those who are less fortunate. And that was probably one of the best things we've ever done for our business. And now that things are starting to open up and come back together, I think I'm happy that we were able to do that because we were able to provide over, I think it was 4,000 meals. And it was multiple, and some of the meals had like 4 portions in it. Some of them are family meals. So I was really, really happy that we were able to do that for people who were in need. And I think going through something like this, you realize that, you might think you're really bad off, but, it could be worse. And I think that's what this pandemic was, definitely a wake-up call.
Most definitely. So with sauce foods in mind, where do you guys see yourself in 5 years?
I would love to franchise, but if not, I see us, still having brick and mortar running, maybe another location. It is great to see, the business pretty much running on its own without me having to be there. So that's awesome. So yeah, I would consider franchising, or maybe just opening a second location. I think the way things are going now, it's pretty steady. So I wouldn't want to kind of disrupt too much. I've also talked about kind of, we might bottle our sauces and spices because now when we send meals out, we have clients asking to send extra sauce or extra seasonings, hence, the name sauce. And that's actually where it came from. When we sent our meals out, we had people saying, well, can you send an extra cup of that chimichurri or that coconut curry, or do you have some extra, we have like a peanut butter salad dressing. Do you have an extra, some of that? So we were getting people that. So that's why we thought sauce was fitting when it was time to kind of, break up the nutrition side and the food service side. We thought it was a great idea. So maybe like a sauce line or something like that. But other than that, I'm pretty happy, with how things are, and just probably take it easy for the next 5 years.
Yeah, definitely. Don't not too crazy. So as a chef, what is your favorite food to cook or meal?
Okay, so I know it's going to be like super simple and you're probably going to be like, Jess, like really, that's it. Okay, tacos. And I will, and I love making like my own like mole, and I'll put it on anything. So I would have to say like mole and tacos. making chicken mole, pork mole, whatever it is, and putting it inside of a tortilla shell. Sometimes when I'm trying to really watch my carbs, I'll do like the romaine tacos, but it doesn't matter. Like as long as mole's on it, I'm good.
What is mole? Like I've heard of it, but I honestly thought it was slang for guacamole. But like, what is it?
No, it's a sauce that you make, like you roast chilies. It has a little chocolate in it. It's a Oaxacan sauce, and I absolutely love it. Like it's so earthy, spicy. It's amazing. It has sesame seeds. It's like so great.
Great. So many dietetic students I know like to feel prepared. Were you the same way when you were doing your academics?
Yes. And what I will say is initially I did clinical and then I tried community. So you kind of have to like find your way. What I will say is you definitely need to be prepared, especially you just need your walking knowledge, and that's kind of how I was taught. You need to be a sponge and you need to have your walking knowledge no matter where you are, whatever it's clinical, community, wellness, whatever setting. So that for me, that's kind of like, that's the discipline part of the field, as having that walking knowledge. And yes, I did like to be prepared. I will say that what made me choose, I guess, more preventative and wellness was I went to a job interview, and it was for clinical. And I was talking to the guy, and I'm like, I'm a chef and a dietitian. And he basically told me that I did not get the job. It wasn't because I was not qualified. It's because when he read my resume, he felt that I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And he didn't see how culinary and, you know, dietetics would actually mix. So this is like somebody from the hospital, like someone in HR or administration from a hospital telling me this. So it was kind of like, I felt like he dared me to do something. So, you know, with everything going on with my dad, it's kind of like the last straw, you know, that made me jump off and kind of like take that leap to start my own business and do the whole wellness side and culinary, because I wanted to show people that culinary nutrition is a thing, and it is, you need the two to go together. It's hard to really not know too much about culinary or nutrition and teach the other, you know what I mean, and be successful. So I still believe that culinary, nutrition, exercise, they go hand in hand. And I want to encourage those who feel like, you know, they're coming out of their internship or going in and like they have to do clinical or they have to do this or they have to do that. Like, you can make your own niche. Like, you can have a meal delivery service. You know what I mean? Like, you can do other things with your dietetic background. But I would say make sure that you have a solid foundation in clinical, make sure that your walking knowledge is up to par, and make sure that you continue to educate yourself, whether it be via, you know, web, via conference, whatever it may be. Just make sure that you keep up with that stuff, because it's very important, especially with nutrition changing so much.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us. I greatly appreciated it. And I learned I learned what mole was today, so that's a benefit. But also, you know, how well like family dynamics work in a business, especially when you all have different strengths you all can bring to the table. So I really appreciate talking to you.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for inviting me. And I want to wish you all good luck